People say immigration is not working, multiculturalism is not working. And you can approach it in two different ways. You can either say it needs to stop, or we can fix what's not working.
Yeah, I want to know when someone says that, okay, what do you mean specifically? Because this is a true of life. You tend to see what you're looking for. I could start with the premise it's not working. But then I will find all the cracks and all the things that make, and all I'm pointing to are the things that make things difficult. It really heavily depends on the media that you consume, what's happening on your Instagram feed, which speakers you are drawn to. Because a lot of people make a lot of money through doom mongering. Everything's so black and everything's about on the verge of collapsing.
They will say, well, I mean, look at the crime committed by immigrants. It's much higher than the local people. Look at some segments of societies or some cities or towns in society where it's just one community not integrating, where a big portion of them might not even speak the language. And I do feel like, okay, these are actually reasonable things. And these are things we can look at and say, okay, how do we fix that? As opposed to brushing all immigrants with that one thing.
I sympathize with that. It doesn't help to have whole communities who barely speak the language, things like that. I'm a big advocate for speaking one language and people feeling like they could forge harmonious relations with you and not being excluded because you can't even communicate with them.
Yeah, the problem is you'll see GB News saying Britain has fallen. You know?
Yeah, of course.
That's the issue.
Yeah, it taps into that kind of primal fear that people have. And all people need to feel in order to adopt a hard line politically is they need to feel like their feelings, their emotional state is somehow validated.
Do you feel that the real issue it's more economics than social fabric?
Yeah.
At the same time, what's happening today in societies, inequality is increasing massively. More people are struggling, and they see at the same time immigration is increasing.
Yeah,
and they're trying, okay, whose fault is this that this is happening? Because 30 years ago it was better, 50 years ago it was better. My parents' generation, my grandparents' generation is much better than what it is right now.
The culture war thing is very convenient because number one, it's very easy to understand. Economics, not so much, but the idea that it's a culture war, then it's very like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. It's like the dark culture trying to take over our light culture. No, I'm on the right side, and then you get to feel like a righteous crusader. It's very simple, and it's also very convenient because as soon as you get into politics, economic, then there's some culpability on the part of people in power, people who are more privileged, and there's some kind of sense of responsibility that needs to be taken. But if it's just culture, then there's no responsibility. It's just they're wrong. They're just wrong. Those lot over there, they're just wrong. And that's a really simple narrative.